Namaste. Shubh Navratri. For this year's Navratri celebrations, I've put together a Durga Yantra Mandala Sadhana. As I was preparing for this, I spent time painting a Durga Devi Yantra and chanting her Bija Mantra, Om Dam Durgaya Namaha, and also reading various texts and literature and mythological stories about the goddess in order to understand her better, in order to establish a deeper connection. While I was doing that, I started reading parts of the Devi Mahatmyam, and as I read that, I experienced such an immense amount of inspiration, joy. It just kind of infused me with a tremendous amount of the Devi's energy. And I thought it might be a good idea to share some of those as a sort of a book reading, little bit of reading from some excerpts of the Devi Mahatmyam through the Navratri festivities. All right, so here we go. Om Dum Durgaya Namaha. Om Dum Durgaya Namaha. Om Dum Durgaya Namaha. So the piece which I have chosen to read from is part of the Mahisha Mardini part of the Mahatmyam, and it begins with a little bit of a dialogue and goes on to speak about first how the Devi vanquished Mahisha's army and then went on to annihilate and defeat Mahishasura himself. Om Hrim, the seer said. Long ago, when Mahisha was chief of the Asuras and Indra was chief of the gods, there was a war between their forces for a full 100 years. The valorous Asuras vanquished the army of the gods, and after all were conquered, Mahisha became the Lord of Heaven. Then, led by Brahma, the Lord of Beings, the defeated gods went to Vishnu and Shiva and related in detail what had happened. The 30 gods told how Mahishasura had wrought their defeat. He has usurped the authority of Surya, Indra, Agni, Vayu and Chandra, and of Yama, Varuna and all the others. Cast out from the heaven by the evil Mahisha, all the multitudes of gods wander over the earth as mere mortals. We have related all that this foe of the gods has done, and we seek refuge in you. Be pleased to devise a means for his destruction. When Vishnu and Shiva heard the entreaties of the gods, they knit their brows in fury and contorted their faces. Whereupon a great radiance came forth from Vishnu's rage-filled countenance, and so too from Brahma's and Shiva's. And from Indra's body and from the bodies of all the other gods, a very great light issued, and it united and became one. The gods saw before them a peak of light like a mountain, blazing brightly and pervading the sky in every direction with its flames. Unequaled light, born from the bodies of all the gods, coalesced into a female form and pervaded the three worlds with its splendor. From Shiva's light came that which formed the Devi's face. Yama's radiance formed her hair, and Vishnu's effulgence became her arms. The moon god's soft light formed her breasts, and Indra's brilliance became her waist. Varuna's light became her legs, and earth's splendor formed her hips. Her feet took shape from Brahma's light, and her toes from Surya's brilliance. From the Vasu's light, her fingers formed, and from Kubera's light, her nose. From Prajapati's lustre came her teeth, and from Agni's radiance, her 3 eyes were born. Dawn and dusk became her eyebrows, the wind god's splendor shaped her ears, and all else born of the other god's light shone too as the auspicious Devi. Then beholding her who appeared from out of their amassed light, all those gods tormented by Mahisha rejoiced. Then the gods bestowed on her their own weapons and adornments. From his trident, Shiva drew forth another and gave it to her. And Vishnu bestowed a discus spun from his own. Varuna gave her a conch, and Agni, the eater of oblations, gave her a spear. Vayu, the wind god, presented her a bow and 2 quivers filled with arrows. Extracting a thunderbolt from his own, Indra, the lord of the immortals, the all-seeing one, gave it to her, along with a bell from his elephant Airavata. From his staff of death, Yama produced another staff, and Varuna, the lord of waters, gave a noose. Brahma, the lord of beings, gave prayer beads and an ascetic's water pot. Surya, the bringer of day, bestowed his rays of light on all the pores of her skin. And Kala, the lord of time, presented a sword and shining shield. The ocean of milk bestowed a necklace of flawless pearls and ever new garments. A celestial crest jewel, earrings and bracelets, a radiant crescent-shaped ornament, armlets for all her arms, a pair of shining anklets, a necklace beyond compare, and bejeweled rings for all her fingers. Vishwakarma gave her a gleaming axe, weapons of all kinds, and impenetrable armor. Garlands of unfading lotuses for her head and breast the ocean gave her, and yet another magnificent lotus to grace her hand. Himalaya, the lord of mountains, gave her a lion to ride upon, and jewels of many kinds. And Kubera, the lord of wealth, presented a drinking vessel, ever brimming with wine. Sesha, the lord of serpents, who supports this earth, gave her a garland of snakes adorned with precious gems. Honored also by the other gods with adornments and weapons, the Devi laughed thunderously and defiantly again and again and again. She filled the entire sky with her terrible roar, and from the immeasurable din a great echo resounded. All the world shook, and all the oceans churned, the earth quaked, and the mountains leveled. In joy the gods exclaimed, "Victory! Victory to the lion-mounted Devi!" And with bodies bowed in devotion, the sages praised her. When the enemies of the gods saw the 3 worlds in upheaval, they readied all their forces for battle and rose up as one with weapons held high. "Aha! Who is this?" Mahishasura bellowed in wrath. Surrounded by countless asuras, he rushed toward the sound, and then beheld the Devi, who pervaded the 3 worlds with her radiance, bending the earth under her tread, scraping the sky with her diadem, shaking all the nether regions with the resonance of her bowstring, and standing there penetrating every direction with her 1,000 arms. Thereupon the battle began between the Devi and the enemies of the gods. Swords and missiles hurled in every direction lit up the quarter of the sky. Mahishasura's general, the great Asura named Chiksura, battled there, and Chamara led cavalry, charioteers, elephant drivers, and foot soldiers. The great Asura, called Udagra, commanded 60,000 chariots, Mahahanu gave battle with his 10 million with his 10 million. And the mighty Asiloman fought with forces 50 million strong. With 60 million, Baskala fought in the conflict. Encircled by streaming multitudes of elephants and horses, Parivarita fought in the battle with 10 million chariots. And her, who's called Bidala, with 5 billion chariots surrounding him, engaged in combat there. Amid chariots, elephants, horses, and myriads of other great asuras battled with the Devi. Their countless chariots, elephants, and horses surrounded Mahishasura there in the fray. With lances and javelins, spears and clubs, swords and axes, and sharp-edged spears, they fought with the Devi. Some hurled spears, while others threw nooses, intent on killing her. They began with assault with their swords. But she, the Devi Chandika, showered down all manner of weapons and cut through their armaments as if in jest. Praised by gods and seers, she remained serene, even while unleashing her weapons at the Asura's bodies. Her lion mount, shaking its mane in fury, stalked among the demon throngs as fire rages through a forest. The sighs that Ambika heaved while fighting became at once her legions of hundreds and thousands. They fought with axes, javelins, swords, and sharp-edged spears, and drawing strength from her power, they destroyed the demon hordes. Some of her throngs beat war drums resoundingly, some blew conches, and others drummed upon tabors in their zest for battle. Then the Devi, with her trident, club, and volley of spears, with her swords and other weapons, slew great asuras by the hundreds, and brought down still more with the confounding din of her bell. Binding other asuras with her noose, she dragged them along the ground. Her sword strokes slashed others in two, while crushing blows from her mace brought still more down. And those bludgeoned by her club vomited forth blood. Others fell to the ground, pierced through the chest by her trident. Her steady stream of arrows made some on that battlefield resemble bristling porcupines, and those tormentors of the gods breathed their last. Some had their arms severed, others their necks broken, the others heads of others rolled, and still others had their bodies ripped apart. Great asuras, their legs cut from under them, toppled to the ground. Some severed lengthwise by the Devi were left one-armed, one-eyed, one-legged. While others there in the battle danced to the throbbing drums, those that she decapitated fell and rose again. Headless bodies still grasping swords, spears, and lances in hand. "Stop! Stop!" other great asuras cried out to the Devi. Where that great battle raged, the earth was impassable with fallen chariots, elephants, horses, and corpses. Torrents of blood like mighty rivers gushed from elephants, asuras, and horses in the midst of the demon array. In an instant, Ambika led that vast legion of foes to its destruction, as quickly as fire consumes a heap of straw and dry wood. And her lion, roaring thunderously, shaking its mane, prowled about in search of life breath still issuing from the enemy's bodies. And so did the Devi's hosts wage war against the asuras. So also did the gods in heaven shower down flowers in praise. So that was the tale of how the Devi defeated Mahisha's army. And I'll probably do the next part in another video, maybe tomorrow or the day after. And you know, I find it a little funny that I'm reading about blood and gore and annihilation and death, but it somehow fills me with a great deal of thrill, a sort of bloodlust that I can understand. It is the same kind of bloodlust that you feel, or the sense of victory and joy and rejoicing that fills you when you defeat an inner demon, a thought, a habit, a personality aspect of yourself that has challenged you for a long time, that you have been a slave to for a long time. And then finally, when you uproot it, eradicate it, and defeat it completely, yeah, that's what this entire story makes me feel like. Victory of light over dark. Something to celebrate about, something to enjoy. Thank you. I hope you enjoy this as well.